श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् मयूरादिरूढं महावाक्यगूढं मनोहारिदेहं महच्चित्तगेहं महीदेवदेवं महावेदभावं महादेवबालं भजे लोकपालम्. Welcome to this musical journey to Tiruchendur. Tiruchendur is one of the 6 most prominent temples for Lord Subramanya in Tamil Nadu, called as Arupadaveedu Sthalams. It is the second out of the 6 very important shrines. While speaking of any temple town, especially in Tamil Nadu, the name of the temple town is very important for us when we would like to know the historical and Puranic details behind the temple town. The name here, Tiruchendur, gives lots of details and information about the great history and Puranic stories associated with the temple and the Lord residing in the temple. Skanda Purana has always addressed Tiruchendur as Jayantipuram, while the Kanda Puranam in Tamil, which is the Tamil translation of the Skanda Puranam, has addressed Tiruchendur as Sendil Nagaram. Both the Skanda Puranam and Kanda Puranam has given lots of information about the Puranic insights of Tiruchendur. So let us now know what those Puranic insights are. Surapadma, along with his brothers, lived in a beautiful city amidst the ocean called Veera Mahendrapuram. They had acquired a boon that says that they could be killed only by a Shivamsha, the power or the sun that came from Lord Shiva, which means Lord Shiva's son only could kill them. The powers that the boon gave them were misused by Surapadma and his brothers by creating havoc everywhere. The Devas, Rishis or sages, humans and all other living creatures faced lots of difficulties and were tormented by the brothers. This led the Devas and Rishis go and pray to Lord Shiva or Mahadeva and seek his mercy. Mahadeva, the ever merciful Lord, listened to their prayers and granted them the boon of giving them his Shivamsha or his son. Lord Shiva created 6 fire sparks from his 6 faces. Usually, Lord Shiva is associated with 5 faces, but along with 5 faces, Adho Mukha, the 6th face of Lord Shiva, was also involved in creating 6 fire sparks. These 6 fire sparks were carried by Agni Deva and Vayu Deva. They were then transported to the river Ganga. Ganga carried these 6 fire sparks and handed over them to a small pond called Sharavana Poigai. At the banks of Sharavana Poigai were 6 women called Karthikai Pengal who found that the 6 fire sparks had turned into 6 beautiful little boys. Each of the Karthikai Pengal raised these small children into little boys. Later, with the motherly touch of goddess Parvati, all these 6 children combined to form one beautiful, youthful young boy, Kumara or Lord Subramanya, with 6 faces and 12 hands. She then took him to Kailasha. Later, Kumara or Lord Subramanya descended to the earth to kill Surapadma and his brothers. But before doing so, he visited many Shiva shrines all across the Indian subcontinent. This incident is particularly quoted in the Skanda Purana. Skanda Purana tells that Subramanya or Lord Subramanya or Kartikeya visited many Shiva temples right from Varanasi in the north to Vrindachalam in the south to Tiruvarur in the south. He visited many Shiva temples, worshipping Lord everywhere, and finally came to Tiruchendur, the present day Tiruchendur, because it was the banks of the ocean, and amidst the ocean was Veera Mahendrapuram, where Surapadma along with his brothers lived. So he had to get ready for the war. But before going to the war, Subramanya, along with his assistants, performed Shiva Puja here. To this date, we can see the Shiva Lingas that were worshipped by Lord Subramanya in Tiruchendur. The Lord here in Tiruchendur is in a very unique posture as compared to other Subramanya Swami temples. He holds a Japamala or a Akshamala in his hand, followed by a Shaktyayuda. Then he has a beautiful flower and then a hand that rests on his lap. The Japamala and Pushpa, the rosary beads and flower in his hands, indicate that he is in the state of doing Shiva Puja in this temple. He is in the form of Jnana Skanda or Jnana Shasta in Tiruchendur. So it was in his Shiva Puja form that just after finishing the puja, he stood up to give darshan to the devotees in this temple. So it is not a form that we see usually in other Subramanya temples. This iconography of Subramanya in Tiruchendur is very unique because of the Shiva Puja incident that took place here. It is said that Lord Subramanya had established 5 Shivalingas on the banks of the ocean and worshipped the Shivalingas. We now come back to the Puranic story where Subramanya sends his prime assistant Veerabahu from Tiruchendur to Veera Mahendrapuram as a messenger of peace. Before beginning the war, Subramanya, the Lord, ever compassionate Lord, didn't want to go in for a very intense, a very cruel war, but wanted to go in for a peaceful agreement. But then when Veerabahu went to Veera Mahendrapuram, Surapadma along with his brothers acted very rudely, spoke ill of Shiva and Shivaputra, which led to the anger of the Lord. This made the Lord to start the war. As the Lord Subramanya got ready to go for the war, the goddess Shakti, his mother, gave a Shaktiyayuda, a weapon as a representative of all the energy she possessed. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samstita. She herself is Shakti. So she gave all the powers in her possession as an instrument, as a weapon to him to fight against the Asura Surapadma. So that is what we can see as Vel. It is called Velayudam in Tamil. That is what we can see as Vel in all the temples where Subramanya is enshrined in. Without Vel, there is no Murugan. So that Vel or Shaktiyayudam is a representative of Shakti or the goddess. The goddess herself gave the Shaktiyayudam as a gift to her beloved son to fight against the Asuras. The intense war between Surapadma and Lord Subramanya had begun. The war began on an Ammavasya Tithi and went on for 6 days continuously. Firstly, Surapadma's army was attacked and killed. Then it went on to Surapadma's brothers. On the last day, on the 6th day or Shashti Tithi, Surapadma himself had to face the Lord. Surapadma, the demon, took various forms to attack the Lord. But the Lord very intelligently, very tactfully defeats Surapadma. Finally, Surapadma takes the form of a mango tree. The Lord, with the help of his Shaktiyayuda or veil in Tamil, splits the mango tree into two halves. Surapadma doesn't die. That is the beauty of Surasamharam. Surapadma doesn't die but takes two forms which we always associate Lord Subramanya with. One is Mayura or peacock, which becomes Lord Subramanya's vehicle or Vahanam. The second is Kukkuta Pakshi or cock, which sits as the flag for Lord Subramanya. So Surapadma doesn't die but lives at the Lord's feet as his Vahana and the representative of the Lord as his flag always. That is the beauty of Lord Subramanya, that he gives refuge to even his enemies, to even those who speak ill about him. Tiruchendur, also called as Kaumara Rajadhani, is in particular very special for the Skanda Sashti Utsavam or the Surasamharam festival. We have already seen why Surasamharam is specific to Tiruchendur, although Surasamharam is celebrated in all the temples where Lord Subramanya is enshrined in. With all this being said, let us begin listening to music in this presentation with a beautiful Tirupalli Ezhi on Lord Subramanya of Tiruchendur by Vishruthi Girish. Over to her.
கீதிசை அருணனும் கிணறொளி வீச கிளிமயில் குயில் காகம் சேவல்கள் கூவ கீதிசை அருணனும் கிணறொளி வீச கிளிமயில் குயில் காகம் சேவல்கள் கூவ காரிருளி கிடும் கதிரவன் வரவும் கடிமாமலருடன் ஏந்திய கையார் காரிருளி கிடும் கதிரவன் வரவும் கடிமாமலருடன் ஏந்திய கையார் தாழ்ந்திடும் சின்னியர் தவமுடை பெரியோர் தனி தனி நாமங்கள் புகழுவராவில் தாழ்ந்திடும் சின்னியர் தவமுடை பெரியோர் தனி தனி நாமங்கள் புகழுவராவில் ஏழிசை பரவும் நற்செந்திலம் பரனே எம்பெருமான் பள்ளி எழுந்தருளாயே ஏழிசை பரவும் நற்செந்திலம் பரனே எம்பெருமான் பள்ளி எழுந்தருளாயே எம்பெருமான் பள்ளி எழுந்தருளாயே.
We now come across our very favorite Jagat Guru. Yes, it is Sri Adi Shankaracharya. It is said that Sri Adi Shankaracharya visited Tiruchendur and had the darshan of Lord Subramanya enshrined here. He has composed the Subramanya Bhujangam in Tiruchendur as an offering at the lotus feet of the Lord after he recovered from a physical ailment that he was suffering from. We also know that Adi Shankaracharya has been an inspiration for many poets, many musicians, and for people of various fields. So we now come across a Tamil poet for whom Adi Shankara's Subramanya Bhujangam has been a great source of inspiration. Devaraya Swamigal, a great devotee of Lord Subramanya from Tamil Nadu, has written 6 songs called as Skanda Sashti Kavacham. There are 6 Skanda Sashti Kavachams, each for each of the Arupadai Veedu Kshetrams. The very common Kandasashti Kavacham, or that particular song or that particular Kandasashti Kavacham, which is very famous and the one that everyone usually chant, is that for Tiruchendur Kshetram. So Subramanya Bhujangam of Adi Shankara, and this particular Kandasashti Kavacham finds lots of similarities. So Devaraya Swamigal, we can definitely tell that has taken inspiration from Adi Shankaracharya Subramanya Bhujangam for composing this beautiful, wonderful, soulful prayer to Lord Subramanya. So don't we want to listen to where these connections appear? So now we have Vishruthi Girish with us to show where these connections appear. There are many places, there are many instances where we find similarity in thought between Adi Shankaracharya and Devaraya Swamigal. Obviously, Devaraya Swamigal lived at a much later era as compared to Adi Shankaracharya, so he has taken inspiration from him. So we have taken out about 2 to 3 instances where the thought process matches exactly. So Vishruthi Girish will be rendering them for us. Over to her.
कृतान्तस्य दूतेषु चण्डेषु कोपदहच्चिन्विभिन्वीति मां तर्जयत्सु मयूरं समारोह्य माभैरिति त्वं पुरशक्तिपाणिर्ममायाहि शीघ्रम् पुरशक्तिपाणिर्ममायाहि शीघ्रम् ஆறுமுகம் படைத்த ஐயா வருக நீரிடும் வேலவன் நித்தம் வருக சிரகிரி வேலவன் சீக்கிரம் வருக சரவண பவனார் சடுதியில் வருக ஆறுமுகம் படைத்த ஐயா வருக நீரிடும் வேலவன் நித்தம் வருக சிரகிரி வேலவன் சீக்கிரம் வருக சரவண பவனார் சடுதியில் வருக मृगाः पक्षिणोदं शकाये च दुष्टा तथा व्याधयो बाधकाये मदङ्गे भवच्छक्तितीक्ष्णाग्रभिन्ना सुदूरे विनश्यन्तु ते चूर्णितक्रौञ्चशैले विनश्यन्तु ते चूर्णितक्रौञ्चशैले திருவடியை உறுதி என்றெண்ணும் என் தலை வைத்துன் இணையடி காக்க என்னுயிர் குயிராம் இறைவன் காக்க பன்னிர விழியார் பாலனை காக்க பன்னிர விழியார் பாலனை காக்க.
I hope every one of you could find the similarities between Subramanya Bhujangam and Kandasashti Kavacham as rendered by Vishruthi Girish. After listening to those such wonderful pieces, we are now headed to our very dear Bhagyakara, one of the Trinity, Sri Muthuswamy Deekshitar. His magnum opus piece in Todi Ragam, Sri Subramanyo Mam Rakshatu, which happens to be the title for this musical presentation. Muthuswamy Deekshitar talks in detail about the Kshetra Tiruchendur and its specialities in this Kriti. Let us know about this Kriti in detail. This Kriti, Sri Subramanyo Mam Rakshatu, in Todi Ragam, composed by Muthuswamy Deekshitar, clearly shows that Muthuswamy Deekshitar has taken inspiration from Adi Shankaracharya's Subramanya Bhujangam. We shall begin from the Pallavi. we will be taking only a few important slices or a few important phrases from the whole composition. As this is a very big composition, we'll be taking only a few important phrases. The composition begins with Sri Subramanyo Mam Rakshatu. Deekshitar here seeks protection. Adi Shankaracharya also seeks protection in his Subramanya Bhujangam, which you will be hearing shortly. And then he tells Shanmukhavatara. The Shanmukha Swarupam, the form of Subramanya with 6 faces and 12 hands, is very important and powerful, especially in Tiruchendur. So Shanmukhavatara. Also, Nakkirar in his Tirumurugatru Padai talks in detail about the Shanmukha Swarupam enshrined in Tiruchendur. Then Muthuswamy Deekshitar, we move on to the Anupallavi. Then he also talks about Valli Devasenopeta. He is with Valli and Devasena. So this also we find in the Shanmukha Swarupam, the Shanmukha Swami with 6 faces and 12 hands is accompanied by Valli and Devasena. In Anupallavi, we find another very important phrase, Patra Vibhuti Pradana Nipunaha. This phrase is a very important phrase because this tells us that Deekshitar has composed this kriti on Tiruchendur. Patra Vibhuti. The speciality of Tiruchendur is that Vibhuti Prasadam or Bhasma Prasadam is given to devotees not directly on their hand, but it is placed on a leaf and then given to the devotees. Actually, the Vibhuti is placed on a paneer leaf. It is, in Tamil we call it paneer yelai. I will try attaching a picture. It is placed on a leaf, which is placed at the feet of the Lord, and then the leaves are distributed to the devotees. Why paneer leaf? Is because the paneer leaf has 12 main veins. The 12 main veins is supposed to denote the 12 hands of Lord Subramanya. So receiving that Patra Vibhuti or Vibhuti from the leaf is equivalent of receiving Vibhuti from Lord Subramanya's hands itself. So that is the importance and the greatness of Patra Vibhuti. That's why Deekshitar uses Patra Vibhuti Pradana Nipunaha. He doesn't tell Patra Vibhuti Dana Nipunaha. He tells Pradana Nipunaha. So we should give importance so much to Sahityam, Deekshitar tells us here. The Charanam of this composition houses many interesting phrases. Pratapa Tarakadi Hara. Deekshitar here refers to the story of Sura Samharam, which we already saw. We also saw why Tiruchendur is very famous and well known for the Sura Samharam Vaibhavam and for the Skanda Sashti Utsavam. So Deekshitar highlights that point here, Pratapa Tarakadi Hara. Then he tells Shatayu Prada. This tells how Adi Shankaracharya has influenced Muthuswamy Deekshitar. As I said earlier, Adi Shankaracharya was affected by a physical ailment. To get a cure, to get a remedy from that physical ailment, he composed Subramanya Bhujangam and was immediately cured by the grace of Lord Subramanya in Tiruchendur. So Deekshitar also quotes that incident of Adi Shankaracharya's life. Shatayuh Prada. Then we have another very interesting phrase, Shankabhishekadi Upachara. Shankabhishekam is performed to Shanmukha Swami here in this temple every year during the Adi Utsavam. So Deekshitar quotes that incident here. Shankabhishekadi Upachara. We already know that Deekshitar is well known to document facts about temple festivals, Utsavams and all. So Deekshitar here aptly. Finally, an aspect that definitely cannot be done away with when we talk about Lord Subramanya, the Navaviras. Navavirananda, tells Muthuswamy Deekshitar in the last line of this composition. Navaviras are the 9 assistants who helped Subramanya when he fought against Surapadma. I had already mentioned when we spoke of the Puranic story that there were assistants helping Subramanya while fighting against Surapadma. They are the Navaviras. Navaviras are the sons of Navashaktis. The Navashaktis are said to have originated from the anklet bells of goddess Shakti. Quickly read out the names of the Navaviras, after which we can listen to the composition. The Navaviras are Veerabahu, Veera Kesari, Veera Sura, Veera Mahendra, Veera Maheshwara, Veera Purandhara, Veera Marthanda, Veerandhara, Veera Dhira. These are the 9 people or the Navaviras who helped Subramanya while fighting against Surapadma. Now we get to listen to this Kriti, but before which we get to listen to the slokas from Subramanya Bhujangam, Adi Shankara's thoughts reflected by Muthuswamy Deekshitar. That is what we are going to listen to now. So over to Vishruthi Girish to render the Subramanya Bhujangam slokams, followed by Muthuswamy Deekshitar's magnum opus. Over to her.
कुमारेश सूनो गुह स्कंद सेनापते शक्तिपाणे मयूराधिरूढ पुलिन्दात्मजाकान्त भक्तातिकारिन् प्रभोतारकारे सदा रक्ष मां त्वम् प्रभोतारकारे सदा रक्ष मां त्वम् अपस्मार कुष्ठक्षयाशः प्रमेह ज्वरोन्मादगुल्मादिरोगामकान्तः पिशाचाश्च सर्वे भवत्पत्रभूतिं विलोक्य क्षणात् तारकारे द्रवन्ते विलोक्य क्षणात् तारकारे द्रवन्ते Subramanya Mam Rakshatu Shri Subramanyo Mam Rakshatu Shri Subramanyo Mam Rakshatu Shri Subramanyo Mam Rakshatu Shri Subramanya Mam Rakshatu Shanmukhavatara Shakti Rupa Shri Subramanya Mam Rakshatu रक्षतु षण्मुखावतार शक्तिरूप श्री सुब्रह्मण्यो मां रक्षतु षण्मुखावतार शक्तिरूप श्री सुब्रह्मण्यो मां रक्षतु भासमानवल्ली देवसेनो भारतीशादि तत्त्वबोधिनो भासमानवल्ली देवसेनो भारतीशादि तत्त्वबोधिनो वासवादि वन्दित शुभचरणो पत्रविभूति प्रदान निपुणो वासवादि वन्दित शुभचरणो पत्रविभूति प्रदान निपुणो श्री सुब्रह्मण्यो मां रक्षतु शतकोटि भास्कर शोभाकर शतकोटि भास्कर शोभाकर शतकोटि भास्कर शोभाकर शिष्ट शीतिकण्ठात्मज शिवकर प्रताप तारकादिहत धीर प्रबल गणेश नोज षड क्षर प्रताप तारकादिहत धीर प्रबल गणेश नोज षड क्षर शतायो प्रदभक्तमन्दार शङ्खाभिषेकाद्युपचारक क्षितीश पूजित दिव्याम्बरो नववीरानन्दवर गुरुमुख शतायो प्रद भक्तमन्दार शङ्खाभिषेकाद्युपचारक क्षितीश पूजित दिव्याम्बरो नवनीरानन्दवर गुरो गुहश्री सुब्रह्मण्यो मां रक्षतु षण्मुखावतार शक्तिरूप श्री सुब्रह्मण्यो मां रक्षतु
Treat for all of us, wasn't it? With this, we come to the end of the video. Thank you all for staying till the end and listening to us. And before we bid you a farewell, we have a small Mangalam-like portion from Subramanya Bhujangam and Skanda Sashti Utsavam. So we shall listen to that.
जयानन्द भूमन् जयापारधामन् जयामोघ कीर्ते जयानन्द मूर्ते जयानन्द सिन्धो जया शेषबन्धो जयत्वं सदा मुक्तिदानेश सूनो जयत्वं सदा मुक्तिदानेश सूनो வடிவுறும் வேலவா போற்றி தேவர்கள் சேனா பத்தியே போற்றி புறமகள் மணமகள் கோவே போற்றி திறமிகு திவ்ய தேகா போற்றி இடும்பாயுதனே இடும்பா போற்றி கடம்பா போற்றி கந்தா போற்றி வெற்றி புனையும் வேளே போற்றி புயகிரி கனக சபை கோரரசே மயில் நடமிடுவோய் மலரடி சரணம் 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 சரவண பவவோம் சரணம் சரணம் ஷண்முகா சரணம் 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 ஷண்முகா சரணம்
Thank you so much. Thank you for staying till the end of the video. And special thanks to Vishruthi Girish for singing such beautiful pieces very soulfully for us. Until the next time, Namaste.